Well, hey there kids, and welcome to a brand new installment of Fact You. Here's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. This month I've gotten a whole bevy of good questions from you guys, ranging from everything about my favorite 80s guitar delights into stuff about how to build speed as a guitar player. We're going to cover all of that stuff today. But before we do, let's stop in at Uncle Ben's boombox and see what I've been listening to this month. This month I've been listening to a whole lot of Ghost in the Machine by the Police. Personally, I don't really give a damn what NWA says. The Police are sick. I feel like this is one of those records that people have always told me that I should be listening to because the Police are so good and Sting is such a sick bass player and Stuart Copeland is such an amazing drummer and all that kind of jazz, but I just never really given it a chance before. What a fantastically pleasant surprise I was in for, because this record is jam-packed with all kinds of incredible playing, awesome songwriting, killer production, everything that you want in music, really. The song that everybody knows from this record is Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, which frankly is the worst song on the album by a mile. There is some amazingly complex music on this album if you really listen for it. Listen to this track, which is called Spirits in the Material World, which is without a doubt my favorite song on the record. The songs Rehumanize Yourself and Invisible Sun are also some of my favorites on the record. There's just really a lot of diversity. Some of it has kind of this punk rock energy, some of it has this sort of hyperspeed, British reggae kind of thing going on. And the drumming is absolutely unbelievable. Kind of like what I said a second ago, I feel like my whole life people have been talking about how sick Stuart Copeland is. He really is as sick as what people are telling you, man. I feel like that guy with a hi-hat and a snare and a kick drum can be more creative than 99% of all drummers on the planet. Sting is frankly one of my favorite bass players and always lays down bass lines that are super appropriate for the tunes. And the guitar player Andy Summers does a lot of really understated, awesome stuff that always fits the songs absolutely perfectly. Trust me here, if you think you know this record but you've never listened to it before, you don't know this record. Put it on Spotify or whatever and give it a spin. Really, really, really incredible music. Really pleasant surprise. But enough talk about the dang Police. Let's answer some fackin' questions. First question this week comes from my man Mark Letierri of the band Snarky Puppy. He asks, hey man, yeah, so what about, yeah. I think the answer to that question is kind of obvious. It really kind of depends on the size of the horse. Also, if you guys have never heard Mark's band Snarky Puppy, I strongly advise you to check them out. Absolutely unfucking believable band. Check out Snarky Puppy as fast as you can. Mark is one of the most funky, tasty, awesome guitar players in the world right now. So, Snarky Puppy, check that out. Next question comes from my main man Patrick Barnes, who asks, who's your favorite 80s guitarist? To answer this, I'm going to bar using Eddie Van Halen or Steve Vai to answer this question, because I kind of feel like Eddie got his start obviously in the late 70s, and Steve Vai is immortal and bears no reference to this question. So, simply put, my favorite 80s guitar player is definitely Nuno Bettencourt of Extreme. There's a lot of really incredible players that came out during the 1980s, of course, in the hard rock and heavy metal scene. But I feel like what Nuno brought to the table was like the next logical evolution from, the first couple of Van Halen albums. That funky, sort of bluesy, but still just loaded with attitude, nasty kind of guitar playing. I've mentioned this to a couple of people before, but actually really early on in my guitar playing, like around the year 2001 or 2002, something like that, I actually got Passion and Warfare by Steve Vai and Extreme 2, Porno Graffiti, on the same day. Of course, those records had already been out for 10 or 12 years by that point, but they were completely new to me, and I got them both the exact same day. Needless to say, my life has never been the same since then. I could go on and on and on about Passion and Warfare, but Extreme 2 really, really did blow my mind. That record is just loaded with awesomely sassy, funky, nasty, just dripping with attitude guitar playing, which is something I feel like is really, really sorely lacking from a lot of metal and especially hard rock playing today. If you don't have that record, seriously go check it out. Go get Extreme 2. It's one of the best guitar records of all time by anybody ever. Now here's a good question. The Johnny Man 97 asks, What's a really solid way to build speed with my picking and blistering leads? One of these days I'm going to do a complete "This is why you suck at building speed" lesson video or something like that. But here's a quick answer to use to help you build some speed super fast. I feel like most every guitar exercise you ever learn just has you straight flooring it the entire time, playing non-stop 16th notes or whatever. Like, let's take for example the typical chromatic exercise, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. I feel like every time I see somebody talk about that exercise, they have you playing 16s non-stop with a metronome like this, right? And a lot of us get this impression that if you can't play, non-stop, unblinking 16th notes at a certain speed, well, that just means you flat out can't do it. And when I say 16th notes, I mean playing 4 notes per beat. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. But I bet you even at one of those trickier tempos, you can play at least a few 16th notes. 1 E and a. And if you can play a few 16th notes, maybe you can play a few more. 1 E and a 2 E and a. A really excellent way to practice and increase your speed as a guitar player is to take a simple 4-note chromatic exercise, although it could also be anything else too. If you want some extra challenge, do a 3-note per string scale or something like that. And practice going from 1 string worth, as in 4 notes, of 1/8 notes. That means 2 per beat. 1 and 2 and. Notice I was doing those with just downstrokes. And then whenever you get to the next string, go to alternate picking through 16th notes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 1 and... With metronome, it might sound like this. Down, 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 down. If you can do some 16th notes, maybe you can do a few more. So now try doing 1 string of 8th notes and 2 strings of 16th notes, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can do 2 strings worth of 16th notes, maybe you can do 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can do 3 strings worth, then maybe you can do 4, and after you get used to that, then maybe you can work up to 5, and then before you know it, you're playing all 6 strings, 16th notes, non-stop, at a speed that was unobtainable to you when you started. Spend a couple of minutes on each segment before you progress to the next one. Making progress with this kind of stuff is slow. It takes a lot of repetition. It takes a whole lot of time. Now, one of the things that I really want you to watch for as you're progressing through this stuff, adding more and more 16th notes into your exercise that you're playing here, is that whenever you blast off into fast mode, whenever I go to the 16th notes, I want you to really pay attention and see if you are changing anything, absolutely anything. Because you should be doing this at a tempo to where the 8th notes, you can be totally relaxed and do those in your sleep. Those should be super, super easy for you. But then whenever you go to the 16th notes, I want you to really pay very close attention to everything. I'm talking from your fingertips all the way up your arm, to your shoulder, to your elbow, to your neck, everything on both hands. And see if whenever you blast off into the 16th notes, if anything tightens up, if you change the grip on the pick, if you tighten up on the pick, if you tighten up your elbow. One of my really problematic areas I had for a really long time is tensing up the back of my elbow right here. And I only did it when I played it fast. I never did this stuff when I played slow, but whenever I'd play an exercise like this, whenever I went to that speed burst, I'd feel the back of that elbow really tense up. Like I said to start with, most exercises that you play just have you going full speed all the time. But I think it's really important with some of these exercises to have your slow, relaxed speed as sort of a reference point, so that way you can tell if when you start going fast, if you start tensing up or changing anything. I really think that most guitar players that can really play like the wind, they don't have their slow technique versus their fast technique. They have one set of technique that they use all the time, and it's the same when they play slow as it is when they play fast. So an exercise like this that has you constantly contrasting between your slow playing and your fast playing should really make it obvious to you if you are starting to tense up or change anything as you start to play fast. Next question today comes from my main man Alex Wade from the band Whitechapel. He asks, how big is it? It's up to you to decide what it is. Well, Alex, let me tell you this. It's about 12 inches long and an inch and a half thick. The exterior is a supple, glossy burgundy and it weighs about 1.5 pounds. I've been told it looks just like my father's. It's my Bible. My Instagram follower Stuperbee asks, what time is it? It's right now. My main man Garrett 8 Hunter asks, favorite Metallica album? I am a master of puppetsman through and through. That is just the record that really clicks with me from the Metallica catalog. I kind of can't believe that any group of humans made a record that perfect. I feel like every song on that record is super unique and has its own really cool individual feel to it. Every song has super memorable riffs in it. The lyrics are great, the production is great, the band still sounds young and pissed, you know? That's just one of my favorite records of all time. I really don't think that I would change anything about that album. Master of Puppets, A1. I sure hope that answers y'all's dang questions. I really enjoy doing these FAQ series, so please be sure to leave me a comment with whatever your question is that you would like to see answered on the next installment of FAQ You. I don't care what it is. It could be something about playing guitar or music theory or movies or video games or bands or gear or whatever it is that you want to know. Ask a question and I'll get to it sometime. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You guys can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at BenEllerGuitars. You can find my Facebook fan page over on facebook.com/Uncle Ben Eller. And also, if you're interested in booking some one-on-one Skype lessons with me, be sure to drop me an email, BenEllerGuitars@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for another installment next month. Cheers, guys.